Hello and welcome back. I'm Shelf Unit and this is my continuing Let's Play of Shadowrun Hong Kong Extended Edition. Okay, last time we finished up our investigation into the murders of the elders in Hanoi, I think, and we've acquired a new crew member. So now we want to pick up our payment for this. Let's do geomantic sabotage. Kind of change. Geomancy is a big business in the free enterprise zone here in Hong Kong. Feng Shui isn't just the act of rearranging your kitchen to make things look pretty. The fortunes of empires rise and fall with the ebb and flow of qi, and sometimes the flow needs a helping hand. Wuzing Incorporated are the preeminent practitioners of large-scale qi manipulation here in the free enterprise zone. They've gone to great lengths to channel qi from all over Hong Kong into their headquarters, an enormous monstrosity that they call Wuzing Sky Tower. There, it is focused and transformed into good fortune through the building's geomantically attuned architecture and interior decoration. Our client believes that it's time for Wuzing's good luck to run out. You are to infiltrate Sky Tower and disrupt the flow of qi throughout the building. You ought to do so in two distinct fashions. First, you must disrupt the Feng Shui of the officers by subtly altering the environment at that level. This will consist of minor adjustments of desks, spilled water, and other small activities that are unlikely to be noticed. Ordinarily, even subtle disturbances of this nature would be noticed. This is why the client wishes you to make a much louder demonstration on the rooftop garden. The garden is to be ransacked, utterly destroyed, set fire to things, uproot trees, that kind of thing. Our client has also specified that he would like you to destroy the large Buddhist statue in the garden, smash the thing to bits and leave them scattered across the rooftop. This level of destruction will keep Wuzing's geomancers busy long enough that the more subtle disruptions below will take effect. In addition, it will send the kind of message our client would like Wuzing to hear. I have utmost faith in your ability to cause destruction. The more disruption you can cause on both levels of the Sky Tower, the happier the client will be. As you're not a spellcaster yourself, it may be wise to bring Gobbet along. She'll be able to see the most effective ways to disrupt the key of the building. Let's take that. Good. Contact me when you finish the job and I'll send you your cut of the payment. Let's do attending a party. Rain, I need you to come to the parlour. A friend and business partner of mine named Dr. Shenyang has need of your services. Something about attending a fancy party in Repulse Bay. He was unwilling to give me the details. I think he wanted to size you up himself. Raymond Black's history. From Isabel. Duncan asked me to do some digging on my own into Raymond's history. I guess he doesn't trust kindly trying to give him the full story. I can't say I blame him, since she'd hide things from us if it was in her best interest to do so. So I've been poking around various corners of the Matrix trying to dig up what I can. Most sinners leave a data trail the size of an aircraft carrier in their wake. Working backwards in time, Raymond starts out that way, but it slowly tapers away into nothingness. Sure, I can find some basic records in Seattle, power utilities, a couple of public discussion sites he signed up for, but the further back I get, the less I find. And the craziest part is this. Prior to 2032, I can't find anything at all. And that shouldn't be possible. It's like Raymond didn't exist before then. I don't know. I'm going to keep digging, but it'll take me a while. I'll let you know when I get some news worth sharing. Isabel. Okay, go back. Jobs directory. Claim payment for the £1 garden murders. You submit the job as finished and I'll wait the response. A few moments later a message pops onto the screen from kindly changing to Rain. The One Poets tell me that they've ousted all of their council of elders, something to do with you exposing their efforts to cover up their own mess. It isn't the resolution I expected, but I think it's acceptable. If there's one thing I don't trust, it's people who won't pay what they owe. Thankfully the One Poets are more reliable than NG and her allies. And so am I. Your payment is attached. Active jobs, we've got artifact liberation and the geomantic sabotage. Post pay data. Yeah, okay. Okay, well, this will be a reading episode then, I think. Thread missed connections. You rappelling down the side of an unnamed luxury hotel in a ball gown on Monday night. Me admiring the view from the 28th floor and urinals during a private soiree for an unnamed corporation that I was infiltrating. Our eyes met briefly before you dropped out of sight. Your long dark hair had come loose from your chignon, framing your beautiful flushed face. I'll never forget it. You're carrying a duffel bag bulging with stolen prototype weaponry. Well, I filched the intel that goes with it. Can we connect? Very funny, Blackjack. I'm sorry. The job went sideways. I got trapped and had only one way out. We were supposed to have each other's backs. Just wait till you hear the way out that I had to take. We've got to lay low for now, and we are posting about this on a public message board. Okay, terrorists in Hong Kong. Been hearing some buzz about the mainland of terrorists that showed up in Victoria Harbour and had a shootout with the HKPF the other day. Anyone heard anything on that? Ming Pao said there were 4 of them that got away. 1 elf, 2 orcs and a dwarf. A troll, an elf, and a human were killed on the scene. Word is they're members of the White Star out of Henan, coming here to start trouble against the Executive Council. Looks like there's a 50,000 yen reward for any information leading to their capture. The HKPF seems pretty nervous about letting those bastards walk around the street, freely around the streets. You think they actually pay out to somebody like us? Not a chance. You walk in there to claim the reward, you're getting thrown in a hole with them. The HKPF doesn't keep promises to the sinless. Good enough to try. Why do you have to pay such a downer? Because I know the police, they're all dirty. They're only in it to protect their paychecks, and they don't give a damn about anybody else. Believe me, I'm just looking out for your best interests. Like you and your triad looked out for my brother. You know he's still paying for his reconstructive surgery, you bastard. If a man wants to keep his teeth, he should pay what he owes rather than pull a gun on me. Simple as that. Poetry Slam. Ladies and gentlemen, poets and Shadowrunners, welcome to the first annual Shadowland Poetry Slam. There are no rules and there are also no prizes, except bragging rights. Without further ado, let the versification begin. By Matrix Bard. How long do you think we can keep this going before the trolls show up or the sysadmin shuts us down? Why would they shut us down? It's a free board. We can be poetic if we want to be. Just trust me, it happens. For some reason, these things always draw the worst sort of attention. You going to give us a poem, or are you going to stand around complaining about why you can't? Alright, I've got one. Wait for it. Synth muscle smart links, neural boosters, cyber limbs, all fall to grenades. A little haiku? A little musing on the transience of life in the shadows. Very nice, sir. When the long shadows fall on Hong Kong, neon lights pierce the coming night. Tread with me the velvet blackness. Let no lamp shine on our deeds. That one's entitled 1 Hour. It might just have been the most pompous thing I've ever read. Try this on for size. Lasers are red, shadows are black. With mad on the street, you'd best watch your back. My poem wasn't pompous, you uncultivated rube. It was an homage to Wang Wei, the famous Tang Dynasty master of the Juju form of poetry. It's traditional, unlike that ridiculous limerick that you posted. No, I don't think you have to take the word slam quite so literally. Yeah, you people know the rules. Poetry slams have been out of bounds on BBS since the Laughing Man debacle of 55. If you want to sing your fancy words, do it on a different forum. I'm shutting this thread down. Told you. Walled City. I've got a courier job next week that's supposed to take me to the Walled City. I'm from Kuala Lumpur and I've never been to Hong Kong, but I hear the place is dangerous as hell. Is there anything I should know? Oh, you got nothing to worry about. It's just a low-cost housing development full of hard-working people. Yeah, take a look at this news report. A short triad clip begins playing. This is Sunny Chung with the Horizon News. On today's Sunny Side Up, Kowloon Walled City, a blight on the free enterprise zone or low-cost housing for the economically disadvantaged. We'll introduce you to some of the hard-working residents, how they live and how they contribute to the growth and prosperity of our city. The montage sequence begins showcasing the destitute poor of the Walled City going about their daily lives. The shots have been carefully chosen, showing only smiling and productive residents, in stark contrast to your own experience inside it. Many residents of Hong Kong regard the Walled City as a place of no return. To outsiders, it's the last stop on a long road to homelessness. Rumours abound of feral ghouls, unsafe living conditions, and triad extortion. Yet when we went there, the reality was far different. What we saw will shock you. Citizens of Hong Kong working and living just like the rest of us. Their apartments are smaller and their shops more modest, but the people who live here wouldn't be out of place anywhere in the FEZ. Citizens like shoemaker Chow Sang-si. Scene cuts to an elderly man in a closet-sized stall filled with shoemaking equipment. He smiles broadly at the camera. Oh, I love it here. We have community, you know. We like family. Maybe we don't have as nice a view as they do in Repulse Bay, but I can't imagine living anywhere else. It's not paradise, no, but it's my home. I grew up here. How could I possibly leave? The camera shifts back to Sunny Chum, who now stands in front of one of the entrances to the walled city. Contrary to popular opinion, the walled city serves a vital function. The poor and downtrodden find a home in the walled city, a community where they have a voice, can work and even prosper. Far from being the eyesore that the video suddenly stutters, freezes and ends. Okay, I decided to cut the rest of that crap. She keeps going about what a good place the walled city is and how we all need it. Don't buy any of it. It may not be hell, but you can see it from here and there. Freedom Cowboy's just trying to get you in trouble. So, how do you know the real story? Because I grew up there. You know what it's really like? It's eating old broth made from rat bones because there's nothing else. It's watching your neighbours sell their 5-year-old son to organ leggers so they don't have to starve to death. When you die in the walled city, your neighbours cheer because they'll have the clothes off your back. I wouldn't wish the walled city on my worst enemy. Please shoot down at Victoria Harbour. I know a lot of you are interested in that 50,000 UN the HKPF are promising in connection with the terrorist cell they're hunting, so I've been digging around for some better information. I think I got some stuff of value. Turns out they had a handler here in Hong Kong by the name of Raymond Black. The HKPF tried to take him into custody the day before and were forced to kill him in a shootout. Looks like the Black and terrorists were members of the White Star group out of Henan. Isn't White Star all about restoring Imperial China? One of the terrorists they killed was obviously North American. Why would she be helping a pro-imperialist group? You got money, you can buy any kind of person you need. You're on Shadowrun's army, you should know that. So, what do we know about Black and his band of thugs? Anything we can use to track them down? Data I've been able to dig up says that Black was from Henan and was distantly related to the royal family. He spent a couple of decades in Seattle making connections in the shadows in preparation for an attack on the Free Enterprise Zone. I've attached some dossiers on his remaining agents. You sift through a long stream of data detailing who you and Duncan are. All the general details about your name and life are correct. Many of the small details are wildly inaccurate. Your list is having lived in Laos for the last 4 years, whilst Duncan is noted as having spent most of his life in prison. You want to peruse Gobbett and Isabel's other ostensible biographies. The dossier lists Gobbett's real name as Yu Chen Gui and her place of birth as Xian Shanzi. According to the contents, she is 23 years old and served at the Beihu corporate military until her conviction for insubordination led her to dishonorable discharge. Whilst you can't be certain Gobbett doesn't speak Mandarin, the idea of her being in the military, any military, is downright laughable. Isabel is in turn listed as Fatima Abuka. Apparently Isabel was educated at an early age in terrorism and piracy by the revolutionaries of the Ethio-Malian territories and is wanted in connection with the bombing in 2052 bomb attack on the French embassy in Johannesburg. And given that you know Isabel grew up here in Hong Kong, this information appears to be as laughably inaccurate as your own dossier. Bosey Bash. Alright folks, we're trying it again. This time we're using a super secret code name. There's no telling how long this will last, so let the bashing begin. Super secret code name? You just ran the words poetry slam through a thesaurus. Poetry, people, not complaints. Thief on the run, a silencer in the dark, rat shaman lurks. Got one for the coyote shamans too, an unbound trickster. The shaman fears no peril. Wily coyote. On a roll, Jivey. Here's another one if Matt can stand it. Pulses of light glance of bright chrome. Translucent spheres encase my treasure. Mirrors and tubes and neon implode. Another day in the Matrix. Hey, I can do traditional. I happen to prefer the haiku because less typing. Gossamer tresses, infinity in your gaze. Very pointy ears. Extra points for using gossamer correctly in a sentence. I like elves. Jive Bird is still the master of haiku, in fact. Oh, graveyard creeper, ashen skin, spindly fingers, and claws freak me out. All right, Shakespeare's. This is strike 2. This thread is getting locked and you aren't doing this again. Got me? Bought us for deckers who want to talk shop, and there are plenty of other forums you can use for your stupid amateur poetry. I'd suggest you go and find one. Top shelf sublet available immediately. Like the title says, good location, cheap rent, serious offers only, please. What do you mean by top shelf? As in fancy condo? How'd you manage that? No man, it's literally the top shelf of the converted maintenance clubs that they live in. You're joking. No joke, it's cheap and the location's good. Right near the Temple Street night market. And it has super fast access, just in case you need to get in and out of the Matrix quick. I'm not the sort to ask questions. There's just about enough space to stretch out your legs lying down, and there's a ceiling hook for your gear. What do you say? I don't know, I need a place, but still. Shelf in a shed closet? Screw that, I've got a sweet pad to rent, you can have it all to yourself. It's not Victoria Peak or anything, but it's a bargain. Where is it at? Kowloon Walled City, it's one of the new construction units on the outer edge. I'll throw in a second ceiling hook. Deal? Okay, message me or we'll work out the nitty gritty. Seriously? Walled City isn't that bad. My apartment is huge and it even has windows. I'll be at Harbour Rat's rent. In fact, just tell me what you want to pay. Hello? And finally, looking for Decker. Looking for experienced Decker for a discreet milk run on a supply house for purveyors of recreational substances. Potential for a longer term arrangement. Our team's been together for years, running your basic heists, the occasional transport gig. We've got a reliable fixer and a long list of happy clients. Requirement, you must have a good sense of humour. Hey, you willing to give a newbie a shot? I've been in and out of the Matrix since I was in school. I erased some creds doing odd jobs, so I got a hot new cyberdeck that I'm itching to try on a real run. I don't know, man, we'd really like to find a long-term Decker. And you kinda don't know shit. You said so yourself. Sorry. Oh, come on, you said it was a milk run. How else would a Shadowrunner start if not with an easy gig? I'm being upfront with you. Doesn't that count for something? Fine, got a test for you. You hack this guy, Captain Scone, and change his password to erotic massage. I'm on it. Thanks. Done. Remain or what? Say yes. Say yes. What the fuck? Amazon, may I introduce you to our rigger, Captain Scone. You'll make a fine addition to our team. Thank you. You won't regret this. I've got to stop getting people to hack me. Give me... We'll be looking for a new rigger next. Ah, you know you love me. And that's it for that. Okay, no extra message, we've done all that. Let's walk away. Let's go down the hatch. Talk to Ractor. It's oppressively hot down here. The air is full of synthetic odours that you grab you by the sinuses and refuse to let go. You can smell engine grease and melting plastic, ionised air and lead solder. Quick scan of the room tells you why. Downstairs tenant, blah blah blah, main shop. I think we've read this. He addresses you without turning. Hello, wondering when I'd meet the new neighbour. His voice is pleasant, cultured. There's a hint of a Russian accent there. It's buried under layers of nuance. Please stay where you are. I'll be with you in just a moment. And unless you fancy an unplanned trip to a Chrome Alley, don't touch anything. There are all manner of tools in here that can take your hand clean off. Take your time. I won't touch anything. Oh, you're very kind. Thank you. Try to see what's on the screen. The feed on the monitor looks like some sort of design software. You can see what appears to be a slim, spidery appendage in the orthographic and perspective views. Very good. Yes, that's coming along nicely. Very nicely indeed. He turns towards you smiling, and for the first time you can see his face. He has broadly handsome Slavic features and a chiseled jaw. His eyes are like flecks of ice. So sorry to have kept you waiting, miss. Rain, no problem. Don't worry about it. You're too kind. Now tell me, what can I do for? His voice trails off as a flash of motion catches his eye. With alarming speed, a sinister-looking drone scuttles out from under the work table. Its movements are surprisingly agile and fluid. The machine rears back menacingly, spreading its forelegs in a clear sign of aggression. The man's smile tilts, and his tone goes apologetic. And please don't mind the drone. He can be territorial, but so long as you remain civil, he will not bite. He extends a hand. Simultaneously, the drone relaxes into a neutral position, lowering its killing legs. Ractor. My mechanical counterpart here is called the Korshkai. Shake Ian's hand. A pleasure. His hand is rough and abnormally warm with touch. He shakes your hand with a solid grip. I'm very pleased to meet you, my friend. In a community such as Heoi, it's important to be on good terms with one's neighbours. Agreed. Speaking of which, I'd like to ask you some questions if you've the time. He glances at the bracer on his forearm. The technical display winks to life and then glitters out. Very well. This morning's casting should still be cooling for a few minutes yet. That's enough time to talk. When you said this morning's casting, what did you mean? Exactly what I said. Casting that I made of a new locomotive assembly for Koshkai. He gestures at the display above the work table. A biomimetic design, as you can see. This one is inspired by the working legs of a decapod, the crustacean. The mangrove crab, to be specific. It's fascinating. And will this new leg assembly make your drone more effective? That remains to be seen, but there is more to life than if combat effectiveness is there not. By fabricating new components for Korskai, I unlocked options, different ways of being, even the failures, and there have been many, of value in this context. How did you learn to do all of this? More training and experience than I care to mention. He offers you a wry smile. Drone architecture was once my profession. You see, now it's more of a calling, one that I am free to pursue, now that I've freed myself from the shackles of corporate servitude. Korskai is an interesting name for a drone. Yes, I suppose it is. Not many riggers would name their most prized possession after a villain from a fairy tale, and not to my heritage, I suppose. What was the fairy tale about? A thoroughly unpleasant person. Korskai the Deathless, he was called, and for a good reason. His soul was cleverly hidden outside of his body, and he could not be killed so long as it remained intact. Korskai was a villain and the notorious kidnapper of women, but something about him always stuck with me. I suppose that was the notion of immortality through cleverness that resonated. There was something to be learned from that, I was sure. And so when it came time to name my beloved creation, his was the first name that came to mind. And is your drone deathless like its namesake? In a manner of speaking, I suppose that he is. I have redundant copies of every piece of his architecture, and his core programming is stored on disk in secret location. Should he ever suffer critical damage, I can easily bring him back. I had a plan once to automate the self-repair process. I must confess it was really quite ingenious, but the last matter as such was lost. One day I will reclaim it, and Korskai will become deathless as the stories claim. But it will not be today. There's some interesting machinery in here, not the kind that you typically see outside of corporate settings. He smiles. The same could be said of many in Hawaii. I'm sure it is a smuggler's den, is it not? Our entire economy is based on people having things they shouldn't. Is there a particular device that interests you out of curiosity? The robotic arms that you've got over there, they look like something taken from an automotive assembly plant. His smile flashes brilliantly in the light. Good guess. It's precisely what they are. They fell off a boat, you might say. They weren't cheap, but I acquired them and had them mounted to the walls of my shop. I simply had to have them. The return on investment has been dramatic. Yes, they're cruder by far than the wilder devices that I used in my professional life, but they still do the job, and they are mine. He gazes lovingly at the industrial arms, still smiling. They have increased my fabrication capacities nearly tenfold, and that to me is worth any price. Are you Russian? I thought I caught a hint of accent there. He nods. You have a good ear. I'm impressed. Yes, I grew up in Nizhny Novgorod. I went to school there, started my career there in the industrial sector. A fairly common story, I'm sure. But I have also travelled a great deal, and in so doing I have absorbed a number of other languages and dialects. How many languages do you speak? Counting Russian and Cantonese? 15. He shrugs apologetically. It shames me to admit that I am only literate in 12, however. It's still impressive. Perhaps, when compared to the common man, but I've known a great many polyglots who can and do put me to shame. He gives you another half shrug. Korskai mirrors the gesture. Arabic has been a particular bugbear of mine. The unfamiliar characters and lack of vowels make it damn tricky to get a handle on. But I suppose that old men have their limits. You said you used to work for a corp. Whose payroll were you on? He says, that is something of a sore subject. My departure was involuntary, you see. I did not part ways with my employer under the best of terms. I will tell you I worked for Grushin Aviaco. You'll forgive me if I don't want to go into detail. Keeping all this machinery running can't be cheap. How can you afford it? I'm freelance. At the risk of sounding modest, I've commodified myself rather well. There are other ways corporations in need of design consultations. You'll be surprised at how lucrative such work can be. And there is always other work that can turn to in a pinch. You said you did other work besides consulting. Can you tell me what kind? He pauses, and for a second something flashes in his eye. Korskai lowers his body into crash. A rather personal question, wouldn't you say? Sorry, didn't mean to pry. No, it's all right. After all, it was my throwaway comment that led you down this path. I cannot fault you for following it. Truth be told, I don't feel especially comfortable discussing my side work with relative strangers. Suffice to say that my freelance activities often fall in the illicit end of the spectrum. No, it's okay, I'll drop the subject. Maybe we can come back to it later. Perhaps. He glances display on his bracer again. No, will there be anything else? I have to get back upstairs. Very well, come back anytime. It's pleasant to have someone to talk to. Awesome. Let's go back upstairs. Let's go over here. Whoops. We'll talk to Duncan quickly. Whose cabin appears to be the only clean spot on the bolt hole. The equipment is neatly laid out on the bedding, grouped by type, arranged just so. He's currently in the process of cleaning his weapon with meticulous care. That's it, I guess. We're runners now. Got to ask about benefits. Think we got medical and dental care? He stops for a moment, stares at the weapon in his hand. Damn, I don't think we took the brochure. I'll have to ask the next time we have an audience with that Chinese syndicate crime lord. He looks down the barrel of his gun and blows into it. You look like you want to talk about something. What's the topic? I can't get that dream out of my head. You said you had one too, right? Yeah, yours sounded like a nasty one. I don't remember much about mine. I was pretty creeped out by a run into the walled city. Between that and all the drama, I'd be surprised if I didn't have a nightmare. If I didn't have a nightmare. I can't remember whether we've had this conversation or not, but was the walled city in your dream? Of course, the walled city was in my dream. It was a nightmare, wasn't it? You use your lopsided grin. Was it in your dream too? Slums start to look alike after a while, right? They may look similar, but the walled city felt different, sir. Thick, heavy and overwhelmed by, I don't know, wretchedness, I guess. Whatever it was, the walled city in my dream, for sure. Did it feel different from any other nightmares you had? He takes his time, thinks about his answer a bit before he responds. You know how sometimes you've been mad at a friend in a dream and then wake up still mad at him? And you treat him like he did something wrong when you see him? It feels kind of like that to me. Like I dreamed I was swimming upward towards a bright light. And when I woke up, I was out of breath from the effort. Do you remember about yours? Just little snatches of things. He puts his hands on his hips and concentrates. The walled city was breathing, and it had teeth everywhere. There was a tunnel that was so bright I had to shut my eyes. And Raymond was there. He was either kneeling or laying down. I can't remember which, but he was crying. That's what made me wake up. The sound of my father crying. Let's talk about something else. What do you think about that last run? I don't know. Sarah, I've had enough of ghouls for one lifetime. Barrens are full of them. Remember what the 162s did to the Atlanta family that lived by the old town centre? Remember how we found them? It's not the kind of thing you forget. Tooth marks in the bones and all that. His face goes white as a sheet. Yeah, made my stomach turn. Nobody deserved to go out like that. I don't know, Sarah. I don't think I'll ever get comfortable having a ghoul on our crew. Made sense to keep those elders alive, by the way. Good call. We don't know anyone in this country. Seems wise to try and get some allies. Anyway, enough about that. Need anything else? Let's talk later. Doesn't look like I'm going anywhere. Okay, let's head up there. Let's talk to her. Isabel. Isabel's cabin is an exercise in controlled chaos. Her living space is utterly dominated by an enormous, jury-rigged computer. Tying dozens of obsolete terminals and cyberdecks together into a single colossal machine. This is my personal machine. If you're looking for your mission computer, it's downstairs. She doesn't bother looking up. You can see that she's elbow deep in the guts of an obsolete cyberdeck. One of half a dozen that have been wired into her computer with braided cables. Actually, I was hoping to talk to you. Got a second? There's a long pause and then she chirps her response. So we're talking now, aren't we? Guess so. Can you ask you a few questions? She leans in, scrutinizing the image of the obsolete deck. Go ahead. I'm not stopping you. Any thoughts about that last one? I thought I wouldn't miss the one points, and you know what? I don't. They're all a bunch of pompous, cliquish tech junkies who act like they're in high school, all backstabbing and whispered gossip. The elders are the worst of them, always pitting their cronies against each other. They're useful allies, but I don't ever want to deal with them directly again. I had a high school inside the walled city. Well, I didn't exactly go to high school, or any school for that matter, but I watched a lot of Trid, and I hang about on the Matrix all day. I think I have a pretty good idea of what teenagers are like. I can't believe NG and the other elders would be stupid enough to try and shirk payment on a Shadowrunner. A ghoul Shadowrunner, who's dressed like a red samurai. We put some real smooth stuff with Lamb though, convincing him that plot was in everybody's best interests. We keep them as allies and we get a nasty new team member, and hopefully the Wompones pick some new elders with better common sense. Anything else you wanted to know? I'd like to get to know you better. Tell me something about yourself. Something? She pauses for a moment. Okay, I don't like small talk. Does that count? Yeah, of course. If you don't want to talk, we don't have to talk. Thanks for not pushing it. Nothing personal. I just don't think I'm a very interesting person. It's quite a machine you're working on. Can you tell me about it? She's my pet project. I call her the Octopus. She waves a handle at the tangle of thick power cables that radiate out from the machine's central core. You might be able to guess why. Did you do all this yourself? Mm-hmm. She yanks a fried chick from the deck's motherboard and neatly sets it aside, and then fumbles in a nearby bin for a replacement. I had to make do with whatever I could find as a kid. It taught me a lot about being self-sufficient. What's this thing made of? Whatever I could find. Busted terminals, obsolete cyberdecks, aftermarket memory from Maximum Law's dumpster. Scavengers would kill for this stuff in the Ward City, but out here people throw it away. She chuckles to herself as she eases a card into an empty expansion slot. Most deckers are early adopters. They buy whatever's newest. She'll add huge amounts of new yen in hopes of riding the bleeding edge. Stupid. Why? Because I can have 5 of last year's models for a quarter of the price. The price of that was new cyberdeck, and after I finish daisy chaining them together, the machine I built will run circles around your hot new deck. Can you teach me how to do that? Got a couple of years to sit here and learn. Frowning, she yanks a stick of memory from the old deck. I can give you tips here and there, Brain. Really learning how to do this takes time that we don't have. Time and desperation. And I need to make do with what you got. What about your portable gear, your cyberdeck software, that kind of thing? It gets the job done. Might not be top of the land, but I'm comfortable using it in the field. If you should happen to come across any more advanced hardware or software, either on the job or on the discount rack at Lost Technopalace, I'm not above taking donations, but barring that, I'm fine with using what I got. Your call. Gotta go, Isabel? Sure, drop by anytime. Okay, anyone in here? Yes, Gobbet. Gobbet's nest is pretty much what you'd expect. Piles of clothes on the ground and overflowing garbage bins surrounded by stacks of instant noodles, packets and towers of tinned oysters. Avant-garde posters haphazardly thumbtacked to the walls, overlapping in some places and peeling in others. It feels like an art school dorm room. Gobbet reclines in the corner, or rather she stands right there in front of me, cradling a bowl of soup in her hands. At her feet a cast iron pot simmers away on an electric hot plate. The contents are typical Hong Kong comfort food: chicken-style soya broth, elbow macaroni, tinned ham, and a heaping scoop of egg-flavoured mica protein. As you wind your way through the piles of dirty laundry, Gobbet slowly lifts her head from her bowl to acknowledge you. Hey, Seattle. She chews on the words along with a mouthful of cheap pasta. The corner of her mouth curls up into a harsh smile. How's tricks? Things have been better, things have been worse. That's the attitude. Very stoic, very strong. It's downright inspiring. She skims an oily slab of faux ham off the top of her soup and pops it into her mouth. Now, you want to tell me what you're doing in my bedroom? I'm assuming you're not here to admire the view. Any thoughts about that last run? I don't get the Wompones. I really don't. It's about as close as I usually get to their particular flavour of crazy. You think with all that technology and backup that I've been smart enough not to stiff a red samurai on pavement, much less a ghoul? I don't know, for smart people they seem pretty darn dumb to me. I think we pulled off a damn miracle back there. Not only did we get a creepy-ass close combat expert on our side, we exposed the elders and got ourselves a nice bonus for being smart. Not a lot of jobs go that right. I'm feeling better and better about having you in charge, Seattle. So what else do you want to chat about? How'd you decide on the name Gobbet, anyway? I didn't. She pops the noodle into her mouth and chews. My mom did. So Gobbet's a given name? Well, the name you after a wad of meat. It's a nice name. Your mum has good taste. She smokes. I'll make sure to thank her for you. You had any nightmares recently, like the bad ones? Her jaw stops working mid-chew. Slowly she nods. Yeah, I have. We all have. Everyone in town. Everyone, huh? Doesn't that strike you as odd? Sure does, but then a lot of odd stuff happens in Haoi. She casts a furtive glance over her shoulder. In case you hadn't gotten the memo, we aren't in the best part of town. In all seriousness, the dreams are coming from that inside the walled city. I'm pretty sure of that. All the negative energy pent up there, all the pain and anger and poisonous key is leaking out, and while we sleep, it's getting into us. If you share of that, why stay in Kowloon? Why not pack up and leave? Or, you think it's a magical phenomenon then? Yeah, I think it is. Well, my personal opinion, the walled city is cursed. Deep down, I think that everyone knows it, and we live in its shadow. But that's bound to mess with your head, you know? And it is. But they're just dreams. It's not like they can hurt us, right? I'm glad that one of us isn't terrified by this. She's smart, tries on a smile, fails, does her best to laugh it off. Don't worry, Seattle, we're fine here. But let's talk about something else. I don't like talking about the walled city very much. Too many old fears and bad feelings. Gotta run, go it. You take care. Sure, drop by any time. Okay. Anything down here? No. Where is our ghoul friend? Down there, let's head out this door. There we are. Got you. Storage room that functions as Gaichu's cabin is a cramped, overheated mess. Gaichu is busily moving boxes around, apparently in an effort to carve out some personal space amid the junk that he shares his cabin with. As you enter, he cocks his head and turns around. Welcome to my sanctuary, Rain. I apologize. I've completely forgotten his voice. I apologize for the lack of light, but as I did not need it, Gobbet took the bulbs for use elsewhere. Gaichu puts down the box that he's in the process of moving and politely bows his head towards you. How can I be of assistance? I just wanted to see how you're settling in. Gaichu rolls his shoulders in a definite shrug. I live. I am among those who can make use of my services, and who are not attempting to claim the bounty on my head. Is that not enough for now? Any thoughts about the last room? Gaichu shrugs, blinking a few times in surprise. What do you expect me to say? You have allowed me to live, invited me onto your home, or boat, if you prefer, giving me a means to earn an income and use my particular set of talents. I am pleased with this. Whilst I understand your desire to keep the elders alive to preserve whatever good will exist between you and the Wumpoans, I worry that such softness sends the wrong message to those in the underworld. There is a time for truth, but there is also a time for sending a message. Anything else I can do for you? See you later, Gaichu. Please, come by whenever you like. The wooden mask is extremely light. It's been painted a pale white, and the surface is almost as smooth as porcelain. Although it lacks the sheen of lacquer, the face's traits are delicate, almost feminine, and feature lifted eyebrows, bright red lips, and delicately carved teeth. The teeth have been stained a deep black, barely visible in past the slightly parted lips. The expression, whilst kindly, is ambiguous and uncanny. Viewed from above, the expression is one of calm contentment. Shifting the mask to view it at an upward angle causes the expression to seem melancholy, almost pained. What's this wooden mask, Gaichu? It's a mask from the historical no play, Ikuta Atsumori. Faces that of a young samurai. Taira no Atsumori. Gaichu faces your direction, gesturing towards the mask. I had a collection of a dozen or so no masks when I was younger. That's the last one remaining. And my personal favourite. What's the difference between a normal play and no? No actors wear those masks to cover their faces. The angle they hold themselves at changes the expression on the mask, so the acting is highly rigid and controlled. The entire performance is highly ritualized. There is no measure of improvisation allowed, only refinement of the prescribed form. Gaichu folds his arms over his chest, dipping his chin in thought. The words are sung like in a Western opera, and accompanied by a set of musicians known as Hayashi. The Hayashi keeps time with several drums, a flute and a chorus. A chorus in the Greek theatrical sense, I mean. Unfortunately, no is an unpopular art in modern times. I expect this is because all the plays are conducted in classical Japanese, which is not comprehensible to the general public. I've heard that the creators of No, a father and son in the 14th century, took inspiration from magical rituals in Shinto shrines. It is said that by placing masks upon their face, the actors became possessed by the spirit of the character they play. There are worse fates, I think, than to embody the spirit of a tragic warrior like Atsumori. What's the play about? A young man travels with the priest who raised him to Ikuta Shrine to commune with the spirit of his father, Taira no Atsumori. The young man's father died in the Battle of Ichi no Tanai, when the son was only a baby, and he wishes to know who his father was. The pair stayed the night in a small hut. In the night, the hermit in the hut explains that he is the ghost of Atsumori. Atsumori has been granted reprieve from his time in the afterlife to meet his son. During the night they speak of the battle in which Atsumori was killed, the history of the Taira family and their philosophy. Atsumori fades into darkness as he finishes the tale of the Taira's downfall, just as the family itself faded into obscurity. So think we yet all that we might change this fragile dream of joy into the lasting love of waking life, says Atsumori before fading. It is a tale of sorrow, love, and the burden of war upon the dead and living alike. The price one pays for war is not always in one's own blood alone, but in the shattering of one's own family. Why is it your favourite? Geichi smiles, expression distant. A measure of civic pride, I suppose. And I like the story. Taira no Atsumori died at the Battle of Ichi no Tani, just outside Kobe. The play takes place primarily at Ikuta Shrine, which is located in downtown Kobe. In old cities in Japan, especially in Kaihanshin, I've always felt there is a sense of history wherever one looks. The skyline may have skyscrapers and delivery drones, but the foundations are laid on the bones of the dead. Geichi shrugs, folding his arms across his chest. I think it is important to remember their sacrifices and joys and sorrows and glories. Geichi laughs, suddenly shaking his head. That is why sometimes I worry I am a sentimentalist at heart. Let's have a look at the lacquered box. The box is a deep, glossy black cube. The edges and corners are rounded rather than sharp. The gold flake inlay across the surface glitters even in the dim lighting of the room. Sliding the top off, the interior contents are revealed. A calligraphy set complete with inkstone and block, brushes and paper. Geichi wrinkles his nose, his expression one of distaste. Ugh, that thing. It is a most beautiful set, but it is a shame I am unable to make use of it. Because you're blind? Geichi snorts derisively, stifling laughter. No, my handwriting has always been absolutely terrible. Whatever fanciful stories you may have heard of being able to tell a swordsman's ability by his handwriting, I assure you they are wrong. The set was a gift from a professor of Japanese literature. He appreciated my interest in the classics, the tale of Heike, the tale of Genji, the collection of 10,000 Leaves, etc. I think he wished to encourage me to cultivate non-martial interests. Geichi smiles crookedly and shrugs. I appreciated the gesture, but my attempts at fine calligraphy mostly resembled excited chickens prancing over paper, their feet soaked in ink. Okay. Now then, let's quickly finish up by leveling our guys up. I think I might have already done this, although I might not have clicked it properly. Yeah, I might confirm that. Yeah, okay. Right, so that's that done. Next time we will get on with more stuff, more missions, etc. So thank you ever so much for watching. If you've enjoyed, please subscribe. If not, don't worry about it. Thank you again, and goodbye.